Alright, so this is supposed to be like a basic overview of Yoshimitsu neutral. Kind of how I think about neutral, stuff like that. So don't expect too much in depth, but just the basic concepts, and then I'll go into each concept more in depth in other videos. I don't want this to be like a super long video, but anyway, this is my introduction to neutral for Yoshimitsu players. This can probably be applied to any other character in the game, but as a Yoshimitsu main, this is what I do. So when it comes to neutral and just thinking about neutral in general, right? The way I think about neutral is it's a consistent conversation between you and your opponent, right? So when you're having a conversation with someone, when somebody says something, your response to what they say changes depending on what they say, right? So if someone says like, you know, your shirt's pretty nice today, you're not saying like, I hate you. You're gonna say, oh, thank you. You know what I mean? You're gonna respond accordingly. I mean, you can, but if you do, that's weird. So when it comes to neutral with Yoshimitsu, especially in this range, a lot of it is just figuring out what your opponent's response is and then being able to respond appropriately to it, right? And so with that being said, I want to talk about two phases of neutral real quick. And I think the first one that Yoshimitsu players have an issue with is this part of neutral, right? So there's two phases of neutral. There's the getting in, and then there's the, okay, I'm in phase of neutral, right? So the getting in phase of neutral, I think a lot of new Yoshimitsu players are baited into running up A-ing, you know, baited into running up doing a button, but those get beat out by movement. And if you run up AA, you're -4, so you pretty much give up your turn, right? So it's not a very good strategy. When it comes to this phase of neutral, the first phase, which is getting in, your goal is to run up in your opponent's face and make them block, right? Which puts you in phase 2 of neutral, right? If you get Siegfried to block, then you pretty much have won the first phase of neutral, and you can run your mix-up game, right? So if you ever get any opponent doing this and you're in this position, you pretty much won the first phase of neutral, right? You don't have to win neutral with attacks, you can win it with movement. It's so super important to understand that. And once you're here, you know, you can make them guess with a throw, you can make them guess with the twist across UK, you can make them guess with an overhead. Like once you have the ability to make the opponent guess, you are winning neutral, right? Because think about it this way. When you are in somebody's face, you're making them guess, right? And they're doing the exact same thing when you're trying to get in. You're guessing, for example, in Siegfried's case, you're guessing either AGA or you're guessing 3A4, right? And so it's the same concept. It's just they play neutral at different ranges, which is why I believe that, especially in this game, especially as a Yoshimitsu player, there are two phases of neutral, which both need to be expressed, right? So this next part of neutral requires you to do a little bit of lab work to understand, you know, what your options are versus with what the opponent is doing to keep you out. So in this instance, I have Siegfried doing, I'll have him do 3A4, right? And, you know, 3A4 is a pretty annoying move. It pretty much resets neutral if you're coming in, etc., etc. But there are options around there, right? You know, if you sit outside 3A4 range and you met K, it works. Also, I'm pretty sure that you can meditate stance under it, or bed stance, any stance. You can also, if you're big brain, spin it, right? You can also GI it. It's level 1 GI, but level 1 GI is +8, and as Yoshimitsu plus frames are hard to come by. And what that, at the very least, what this does is it allows you to get the opponent blocking where you want them to. Because once again, making somebody guess is cheap, which is why Yoshimitsu is really cheap when he's here. You can make them guess with a throw, instant full cost 3K. You know, even if you met K them on block, they have to guess. You know what I mean? So ultimately, your goal is to do that, right? And I'll have him do AGA, kind of show you an example. So AGA, you know, AGA does the same thing, kind of resets neutral. He's like either +1, 0, or -1, depending on the range that he does it. And this is a high, so Yoshimitsu doesn't really have any good tech crouches, advanced tech crouches. I mean, Yoshimitsu can really do that, but they got blocked, right? So you can either run up duck, well, or not run up duck. You can even sit here and make K, or meditation stance, and you can make K. If you really want to big brain it, you can flee. If you really want to big brain it, you can Dragonfly. There's a lot of options that you can do to get in on your opponent. This game is very free form and free flowing, right? And there's no wrong answer. The only wrong answer is probably the answer that you haven't tried, or the answer that just blatantly gets hit, right? So don't be afraid to be limited by, don't be like limited by the fact that, oh, this is a slow unblockable, right? Like don't think about that. If it works, then it works, right? It's something that you can use to dictate the flow of conversation between you and your opponent, right? And so even here, like if we really want to do that, we can crouch in instant full crouch 3K, stuff like that. I'm pretty sure we can space it out in 4KB. We can also even just, you know, run and block, because even at this range, right, all of our frames, like our AA reaches, if you really run AA, we can 3K there, which is faster than Siegfried's B6, and it's a mid, and it's plus on hit. So there's options. I can't tell you what moves to use, because if I tell you what moves to use, I can give you like general like opinions of what moves are good to use in that situation. But if I tell you exactly what moves to use, then you don't really develop your own style, and you're just playing like me, right? And that's not good, because I play very differently than, you know, the next Yoshimitsu. And the goal of these videos is not to give you exactly everything to do, but to give you the blueprint of how to like think about things, how to do things. And so that's kind of it as far as the FAR tutorial. I'm gonna go, or just an overall neutral tutorial. I'm gonna go more in depth with getting in, and then I'm gonna go more in depth with what to do when you're in. But as far as like a base video, I think this is a good start. So I hope that helps.